Hey, I was muted again. God damn it. So, welcome to the LIBERcast, everyone, and thank you for your patience. And look at me talking in the void. And I want to thank everyone for all the new people that are coming into the LIBERcast and the work and the new the guests. Thank you very much for being there, and it's gonna be a awesome conversation tonight because the symbolism is everywhere. It's fairly old, and we're gonna have Nate to talk to us about the circle dot symbolism. It's gonna be freaking awesome. So for starter, I'm having two little things. So Caroline Riley Shadow Work Community is a page that dedicated to shadow work and the inner work. She's offering a course, and it's freaking awesome. I'm making it. I'm making the course, and it's very good. It's giving you good tools, good understandings, and about shadow work if you are in these kinds of things. And I mean, I suggest everyone to do it. Like, it's like the first thing that we need to do is fucking do the great work. And the great work, it's inner work first. So I encourage you to go there. She's awesome. She's have full of knowledge and very wise person. So go see there, encourage her. I'm in the Great Work Network. Um, this is a aggregate of great workers, psychologists, the people who are not necessarily psychologists, but people who study psychology and astrology and all these beautiful things that compose the occult. So I'm part of the One Great Work, and I encourage you to go there. There's a little bit of French stuff for the people who are French. There's a little bit. There's Dom Tremblay and myself. I think there's another one. So go take a look, and it's very interesting and very interesting. And I mean, you have all this knowledge for free. I mean, you go there, you explore, and then there's plenty of stuff like when you're bored, or if you're not bored, if you want to get all this wisdom, there's like plenty of there. So go see there. Oh, I'm put it Nate Kap. Hey,
Hey,
how
what's
you
up?
doing?
Thanks.
It's going better now.
Yeah, I have had so many technical issues, and so that's why we're late to the getting on here. Um, but yeah, thanks again for having me on. And for anyone who doesn't know, my name's Nate Kap, and I am a spiritual detective. I'm a spiritual investigator, trying to do my thing to help others, will help myself to get out of this slavery that we're all part of, and trying to help others do the same. And I um, I have I have two podcasts. One is a video cast, which is Outcasting with Nate Kap, and the other one is Cubbyhole, which I do with Brandon and Douglas Martin. And both shows are all about restoring critical knowledge for the advancement in human evolution, with the goal to help us all move in the direction of freedom. So I'm really excited to get on here and talk about the circle dot. It is one of the most ancient symbols that is known to man. So
Sure.
thanks for
I
having
mean,
me on.
oh man, it's my pleasure, man. And I've been making a lot of French stuff, so pardon my English. I maybe lost a little bit of, and just want to bring up before we start on this awesome journey that because in the great work, one of the things that we first do, yes, there's inner work, but after that you got to be literate into symbolism, because symbolism is everywhere. It's on fashion, it's on the walls, architectures, you know like churches, and there's so much knowledge hidden inside symbolism. And the thing is we're enslaved by symbolism, and some symbolism are so old that we forgot that they were symbolism. We're seeing it everywhere, and we're so used to not know that they're literally used as tools against your consciousness, against your ignorance, essentially. So I mean, and the circle dot is like, it's like fairly ancient. Do I guess right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I wanted to definitely second what you just said. That yeah, it is one of the most ancient symbols, but also, yeah, we are definitely heavily controlled by these symbols through our subconscious if we're not, aware of them to some degree. And also, one of the things about a symbol, like a good symbol, especially the circle dot, is that a good symbol will help us realize how ignorant we are. That's what a real good symbol does, because the more that we bring knowledge to a symbol, the more that we will reveal from that symbol. And then, especially if it's a good symbol, and the circle dot is an extremely powerful symbol to understanding this. And, just since, well, I didn't really know exactly how I was going to do this on this show, but just so everyone knows, I have done I've done quite a few shows on the circle dot on outcasting, and I also did a presentation called Aim for Freedom, which I basically took. I was gonna do just a few slides tonight, but because of technical issues, I went ahead and just took out a few slides from that presentation, and I'm going to share some of those tonight. But I want you to keep in mind, this is not going to be some rehash. Okay, I'm actually going to share a lot of information that I have not shared in that presentation and in other shows. Okay, so real quick, I want to see. I'm not really exactly sure. Okay, cool. You got it. I guess I can take control of that too. Yes. But so yeah, a symbol is about understanding how you can compare, one thing with another, compare one symbol to another symbol. And the circle dot, the pure form of the circle dot, is really what we have to understand very deeply to see how it corresponds to these other symbols, these other ways that we can understand this symbol better. Because the more that we understand other symbols to the pure form, the more we're going to understand that pure form, and the more we're going to appreciate what the symbol is actually trying to tell us. So as we see in this image, you see the pure form of the circle dot, and you see the bullseye, you see the zodiac on the left. And this is to me, this is a very important slide, regardless of if you've seen it or not before, and heard me, break it down. But the point is that once we see the similarities, and we start to pay attention to the behaviors and the story and the action of these symbols. Like, for instance, with the bullseye, we know that obviously the hardest part to hit is the center, right in the middle, right? So that's akin to truth. The bullseye is akin to truth, right? So we're trying to, hit that middle mark. And why is that? Well, it's because it's about, having a good aim. It's about having a good form, right? When you're playing darts. It's about focusing and hitting that mark, because that mark is akin to clarity. It's akin to, the hardest focus of the whole board is right there in the middle. And the same goes for the zodiac, right? The zodiac is, it has the sun in the middle on the cross, on the crux, right? And so the sun is what? It's light. And so it's a focal point. Why is that? Well, it's because the sun is the focus of all 12 houses of the zodiac, right? So it's about understanding that, the sun rises and falls. It's about understanding when to plant and when to harvest, right? And this all has to do with astrotheology. Now, the thing, I might be a little bit all over the place with this information tonight, just because, I didn't really set it up exactly the way I wanted to, but that's okay. Because what I really want to get to tonight is I really want to express how this circle dot is, how it measures or corresponds or correlates with other circles with a point in the middle. And that's the other thing I want you to keep in mind, is that this symbol is not just called the circle dot. It is also called the point within a circle, or the dot within a circle. Either way, when you're explaining this symbol, you should understand all three ways of explaining it, or seeing it or researching it, because this is it's known in so many different mystery schools and different teachings, different esoteric teachings. So no, obviously not the dartboard, but I put that on there because that's easy for the layman to understand, the direction in the middle to, hit the hardest point. Truth is hard to get to because of all the things that all the obstacles of the human-based desires that hold us back. So I really want to explain this symbol in the way that it works in understanding the aspects of the dot separate from the circle, and then also explaining how this symbol can help us better understand morality and natural law. Okay, so I'm gonna I don't remember the order of this, but yeah, here again, this is kind of what I already just said. You have the circle dot, you have the dot within a circle, or point within a circle, right? And so again, understanding the pure form is what's going to help us understand these other circles with dots in the middle better, okay? Because it's about finding clarity. And so here is, and I've explained this before, but I'm going to explain it again, and I'm going to explain it in a little bit of a different way, but I'm going to take us a lot further with the explanation. So if at any time, Fred, if you got any questions before I go any further, just let me know, okay? So basically, this whole this is a diagram of the columns of the circle and the dot, right? And understanding the dualistic nature, the dualistic aspects of each symbol are what is going to help us understand the middle, okay, and how they come together, all right? And there's so many aspects. There's so many different ways to understand this, because once you understand the principle of gender, then you really start to get a handle on what these two symbols mean together, okay? So, for instance, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to work my way down the lines, okay? The rows, okay? And what I want you to understand is that what I'm sharing with you, the aspects that I'm sharing with you, are going to help prepare you. If you're not familiar with this work, it's going to help prepare you for the other information that I'm going to share, okay? So basically, let me make this a little bigger. The image just shrunk. There we go. So the circle as a, okay, so just keep in mind, circle is sacred feminine energy and the dot is sacred masculine energy. And I'm going to explain that here in a few minutes, a little more, okay? So you have the, underneath the dot, you have electric. So L is electric, right? L can also be, considered as, the name for God too. And then you also have the circle on the right, which is magnetism, all right? And so when you combine these two together, you get electromagnetism, right? So this is about understanding life. This is about understanding how life works. So this circled dot is representing electromagnetism, because they can't work without each other. And then you have the Tao, or the Tao, okay? So if anybody's familiar with the symbol known as the yin yang, now the yin yang is very interesting, because the yin yang is dealing with, light and dark, feminine and masculine. But I feel like the circle dot really has a lot more value as far as how much you can pull from this symbol. So, that's the other thing I want you to keep in mind, is that, a symbol is something you can draw from. It's something you can pull from, right? So there's so much knowledge stored in this circled dot, but with a yin yang, it's not, there's a lot of knowledge in the yin yang, yes, but with the circle dot, it goes so much further back. But the yin yang energy is what you have to pay attention to here, because obviously the circle dot is not necessarily the Tao symbol, right? So, but it's about the energy. The yang energy is the dot, and it goes in the circle, being the yin, the feminine, the sacred feminine energy, right? And then below that, you have the Taurus. Now, the Taurus is very beautiful to understand, because this is dealing with electromagnetism. The Taurus is kind of like a donut. It's a donut shape, right? And this donut shape is made of the whole of all that is, and it's also dealing with the center, because it's about how the whole of all that is going in itself and out of itself. Okay, and that's how the Taurus energy works. It goes in and out of itself. And this also, the Taurus also has to do with the Taurus bull, which I'm going to get into here in a minute. So then below that, you have the cone. All right, and the cone, if like when you think of like an ice cream cone, with the circle, and then it goes down circular into a point, right? This is made of a hole, and it's made of a point. right? So you got your circle, and then you got your point up top. Now the cone, obviously there's an esoteric meaning to it. It's not just, I'm not just putting like, oh, the circle dot is just a waffle ice cream cone. No, it is dealing with understanding that the universe is, 3D. And as we raise in consciousness and understand the 3D world, well, the circle, the dot, raises to a fixed point, creating the cone. Okay, and this is a very powerful symbol to awaken to, because this is where the circle dot really goes all the way back. This is the cone. See, because you have to understand, it's just like cone vision, right? And then think of the word cone, even the green language. You have C and then the word one. So it's C with one. C with one. That's what that is. That's what that, the point within the circle as the cone, raised point, that's what that is, right? So this goes back to the stellar mythos. And this is opening up a bigger can of worms. I'm not going to go so far into it, but it's about understanding that as we go back in through history, because remember, a symbol, especially the circle dot, is it is what holds the heritage and the history of our human history. It really holds our history. It holds the information of the Most High. Okay, so there's all these claims to the Most High, and they use this symbol. So, when you go all the way back to the stellar mythos, and this is, between 50,000 years to, 300,000 plus years ago, it's a big number. But the point is that this is when the stellar people of ancient Egypt, they had this symbol as Horus and Anup. Anup was the primary of this symbol, but then it got passed down to Horus within this stellar cult, the stellar mythos. And this comes prior to the solar mythos, which is, so you have solar mythos, which is 40 plus thousand years ago, which is what we're all still part of. And this is about understanding, this is solar worship. This is sun worship, right? And we're all in this big umbrella of solar worship, even in today's world. So going all the way back to the stellar mythos, one of the most amazing things that you can understand about this is that, okay, so this circle with the point in the middle, it stores the information as the all-seeing eye, which I'm also going to get into. There's so much of this, but the point with the point with the cone, right? That's so beautiful is that this can be understood by understanding that, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to hold the image of the cone in your head, and I want you to just think about Polaris. All right. I want you to think about the North Pole star Polaris, right? And Polaris is what's known as, the most fixed star in our northern hemisphere sky, all right, in the night sky. And so this star Polaris is attached to the little bear, the Ursa Minor, the 7 stars. All right, and this constellation, the little bear constellation, along with the North Pole star Polaris, it never goes below the horizon line. That's why it never sets below the horizon line in the north sky. Okay, so this when you think about the universe being circular, the circle, right, 360 degrees around you, around the Earth, 360 degrees being like the galaxy, the solar system. When you look up, you see the North Pole star. And then from there, you see just imagine that cone, right? You're looking up at that North Pole star, and then you see all these little tiny twinkling stars, and you see all the planets, right? And you see the Milky Way. And the image that should pop up in your head is the Christmas tree, right? So this Christmas tree, the Christmas tree is the circle dot. The Christmas tree is a way, it is holding the knowledge of the cone as the circle dot. So now obviously Christmas is associated with the solar mythos, but we have to understand that star on top of the Christmas tree that's helping us understand the stellar, because that was the original. So God, I really opened up a big can of worms here. But the point is that and I'm gonna explain a lot more of what I'm talking about as I move through this.
So Nate, I just want to bring something, and there's a recurrent thing there, and this is a trinity. Actually.
Absolutely, it is.
And the 3 number, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean in
it's
the
a spiritual number.
And yes, exactly. Go on, man.
Yeah, and I'm going to get into that. So understanding that cone is so powerful to understand, because the Christmas tree is what helps us understand this cone symbol, this cone circle dot symbol. Okay, now I'm not going to go too much more into that, but I'm going to explain a lot of other stuff that will help us go further back. Because that's what this symbol does. This symbol helps us go further back into antiquity, way back, because it's timeless. The circle dot is a timeless symbol. So it's about helping us understand what has happened in the past, and what is associated with the circle dot, and then how can that help us understand today. And so the more that I go through this, you're going to understand it a lot more. So underneath the cone, you have the universe, right? So you have the one verse, you have the one, right? The uni with the one, and then the void, right? The nothingness, right? Which is where that's where creation starts, out of nothing, right? And then you have the bullseye. Now the bullseye there's a lot to the bullseye, but it does tie into the house of the Taurus. Okay, the zodiacal zoo type, the Taurus, the bull, right? And so a bull is, think about it, when a bull is trying to, run through, like I can't remember the name of where they do the bullfighting stuff. Well, anyway, where they're running at the red carpet and the guy flings it up. I don't even remember the name. But anyway, the point is, when you think of a bull as a zoo type in the zodiac, the bull is running up towards the light, okay, and towards a target, right? And the bull can be either aimless or, there can be a target, but it's about, hitting the mark. So a bull is dual. Bull is dual, right? So it's about taking your dualistic nature of the self and ramming it into the one to rise out of dualism into one. That's why we said bullseye. Oh, I don't know who that is, but yeah. It's like, we're what we're trying to do is, you see these two columns, we're trying to bridge them into one, because that's the marriage. That's unity, right? So below that, I think this is one of the most important symbols that anyone could, or important ways to understand this symbol that anybody could ever really invest time into, which is alchemy. Alchemy is universal. Okay, so this symbol of the circle dot really, it really belongs to alchemy universally. And I say that because alchemy is the way that we understand how to rise out of the circle, being the darkness, being out of ignorance, right? So the circle represents ignorance, because that's what we're born into. We're born into ignorance. We're born into sin. Sin means missing the mark, right? So we're born into, and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that, that's how we start out. We start out in ignorance. We start out in darkness, and then we have the ability through free will to align ourselves, to raise ourselves to the gold, from base metals to gold, from darkness to light, from ignorance to enlightenment, right? So alchemy is one of the key components to understanding this circle dot, because it essentially has, it says everything. Because if we stay ignorant, we're not going to understand any of this information. Then below alchemy, there is the all. Okay, so the all is made of what? It's made of somethingness, and it's made of nothingness. So the circle's nothingness, the dot is somethingness. And when we bridge these together, we understand the all. Because, you think about, and I might talk about this a little later too, but you think about people who say, what's the point of life? Life is pointless. Well, that's just because you haven't found the point yet, right? So a life with no point is nothingness. But then once you find something, the point, once you find purpose, once you find meaning, then you start to really see and understand your purpose. You start to understand that you are something, and that the point is something. It really is a point to life. That it's not pointless. And that's just because, we have to look at these columns as the right and left hemispheres of the brain. Because, you can become very, right-brained, empty, feeling empty, emotion, having emotional problems, not really understanding life, or you can be, super overly skeptical in the, left brain, and be, have lots of light but have no emotion. So there's a lot to these columns. Okay. Now, what I talked about with the cone and being understood with the Christmas tree and the stellar mythos. The stellar mythos is where we find the all-seeing eye. This is how we come to understand the all-seeing eye. And the all-seeing eye is about understanding that this fixed point, the Most High, in our, symbolically, from our perception here on Earth, the Most High is that fixed point. The Polaris, the little bear, the seven, right? Because it's the seven stars. And so the all-seeing eye is about light, being raised to the point, right? And then, that is you're coming from the womb of creation to the all-seeing eye, the creative all-seeing eye, to the creative power of the womb to help us understand who we are, who we truly are, what our purpose is, by raising ourselves with light to align to the all-seeing eye of the Creator. And then underneath the all-seeing eye, and the all-seeing eye, that's you have to understand, the all-seeing eye is about understanding the great architect of the universe. It's about, the ultimate unity. It is about that's how far back the point within the circle goes. So then below that you have the sun, okay, the S-U-N or the S-O-N. They're phonetically the same for a reason. It's not by accident. Because we have to understand the Trinity, and we have to understand the trivium, right? So the trivium, when we understand the trivium, we understand that you have the sacred. I got to bring this down because it's covering everything. I can't see the imagery. That's okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so the sun, the S-O-N, the S-U-N, this is about understanding the sacred masculine being the point, the sacred feminine being the circle, and then the action principle is the sun, the child. But it has to be action, and action is a masculine aspect, right? That's why we have, and that's light. So it's, it's like the Father, the Ghost, or the Holy Ghost, or the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's how you can look at it. That's the Holy Trinity. So this is about understanding that there is the input, the processing, and the output. All right. So that's the modern version of the trivium. And so this sun symbol is very, very, very ancient. And it was, a lot of people, many scholars have only gone back to the point within the circle as a solar symbol that belonged to the god Ra, the ancient Egyptian god Ra. Okay, but the more you go back into antiquity, into understanding that the solar cult comes after the stellar cult, then you realize that, this symbol of the solar symbol that everybody claims is the solar symbol, it's only the claim to the Most High in the solar mythos, the solar cult being the god, being contributed to the god Ra. Okay, so it comes from the stellar cult. It comes later in the solar cult, but actually it comes. It comes later in the stellar cult, not the solar cult. It comes later in the stellar cult when it gets passed on to Ra. Okay, and then from there, so it doesn't start with Ra. That's my point. This symbol doesn't start with Ra, but it gets passed down to Ra, and in the solar cult. And there's so much to this. It's just I'm really trying to explain the aspects, and I'm really just trying to make sure I put in the necessary information so you can go do your own homework and really see for yourself. But I will. Well, Doug and Brandon and I have explained this quite a bit on the Cubbyhole, and we will continue to explain this so much more because this symbol just goes on. And but the more that we align to this symbol, the more knowledge that we're gaining of this symbol, the more we're going to understand how powerful this symbol is and why it's associated with the Most High. Okay, so just the last row, you have the passive cause and the active cause coming together, creating the universal cause. Okay, so this is there's so much more that you can add in these columns, but I just wanted to make my point that the more that we understand these two symbols, then we'll understand the polarity, because that's the thing. The circle by itself does not have a polarity. The dot by itself does not have a polarity, but the moment that you put that dot in the circle, now you've created a polarity. And that polarity is very important to understand, because again, this is a very ancient symbol. And if we're going to understand who we truly are and how this world operates, we're going to have to deal with this symbol. We're going to have to become conscious of this symbol and how it works. And I really want, I want to take a break here and let you talk, but I really want to get into how this symbol is used with the spiral to help us understand natural law a lot further.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I just wanted to put a little something here. This symbolism is used a lot into corporations and stores and things like that. We can, I think it's Target. The symbolism is right there. It's everywhere essentially, and it's a very subversive symbol because it's everywhere. I mean, like triangles are everywhere. You have the inverted one, the one upside, and their geometry is it's like the base of everything. And I think the circle is like the first one. I mean it's the most important, and even in the perception of the humans. I mean, children, they're one of the first form they're doing is a circle. It's a symbol of wholeness, and it's really easy to draw. Not that it's gonna be perfect, but it's very hard to do a perfect circle with your hand. And it's I mean, it's weapons, cars, things like that. The symbol is everywhere. So I just
Absolutely.
wanted to add that.
Yeah, I like that you brought up Target, because I mean they literally just, they're plain as day with what they're trying to do. They are targeting you to say what they're really saying in the subconscious is, we are the Most High. Come shop at our place. And it's red too. So it's talking right to our, lowest chakra, right? To the root, to our desires. So it's, that's why people are always wanting to go to Target. It really talks to us at a very deep level. And, the circle is very powerful on its own. Because, I mean, here's the thing we have to realize about these symbols. Symbols are neither, good or bad. They just are. And how much we become conscious of these symbols and what they mean, that's when we really start to gain the power to do something with them, whether that be good or bad, right? So teaching this information, that's really what's going to help this world become more enlightened, and, it's doing the right thing. But the circle is, it is all and everything on its own. It's all and everything. But, that's on its own. And it is nothingness. It is it's a whole, and it's whole. It's holy, right? And this has a lot to do with my the cubby hole, right? The hole, the WHOLE, because it's the whole. It's the whole the holy of holies. Not that the cubby hole is the holy of holies, but it's about helping us understand the holy of holies, which is between our two ears, right? The heaven. That's what we're trying to raise ourselves to. We don't want to raise flames, right? Fire, which comes from the root. We want to raise light to the Kundalini, to the light of the world, which is between our two ears, right? But yeah, the point is a very powerful symbol to understand within the circle, because it really is. Think about this: when you're talking to someone, or you're talking to a crowd, are you trying to make your point? If you're trying to make your point, then you are bringing the attention to the point. You're bringing attention to the clarity, right? But if you're speaking and there's no point to what you're saying, then it's aimless and you're losing people, right? And so the way that our language is built on these symbols. People don't even realize that words are bundles of symbols, and we're using symbols all the time. We're word spelling all the time, the symbols. And but obviously a symbol like this is very simple, and it's very powerful, and it has so much more value than many of the other symbols within the alphabet. But that obviously there's the alphabet is a whole nother can of worms too. I definitely plan on doing the whole alphabet, and showing how each symbol what it means in many different ways, like what I'm doing with the circle dot.
One of the aspects is fascinating, is that there's pattern there. There's a feminine and a masculine quality to symbolism, and then you have the Trinity, and you have like the language where a point is not only one thing; it's many things. It's like we're closing a sentence by a point. And the letter I, there's a point, and we're associating this because of the sun. I know you mentioned it, but I think it's the important part is the sun symbolism that keeps on coming back all the time, and the astrology thing. I think it's a very it's a seal at the same time. When there was practitioner, they were always drawing a circle around them, because it's a ceiling. It's a like a wall that they were putting and closing in, and not letting everything like go out. And the architecture, it's everywhere. I mean, it's crazy, and it's so interesting because it touches us like every day. Every day we're getting in contact with this symbolism. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being there and sharing that, man. It's fascinating.
I think what I want people to understand is I've done enough work to expedite. Now, there's so many other circle dots that I'm not going to, symbols that are corresponding to the circle dot, where they are a circle with a focal point in the middle. A lot of different traditions that use this. I'm not going to cover all those, but what I am doing is helping people understand that there is a way to expedite. It doesn't mean don't do your work, because that's the point. The point is to do your work, but to pay attention to the fact that this timeless symbol of the circle dot can help us expedite so much of what needs to be understood. Because here's the thing, when you look at this symbol, it's not just a symbol of heritage. It's a symbol to help us understand the point of life. It's a symbol to help us understand that, freedom is the point of a human life. Freedom is the point of a sovereign being, which we all are sovereign, truly, in nature. We're all sovereign. We just don't know it. And we're not fighting for it. We're not fighting for it because we're under mind control, most of us.
Oh, yes.
And, but it's not just mind control. It's ignorance. It's willful ignorance. And it's laziness and it's cowardice, right? So that is exactly, when you look at the circle, that is what that circle represents in this case, right? Now, this, like I said, it's about understanding that the circle itself is not inherently bad. Okay, the point in the middle is not inherently bad. Nothing about this is bad. Nothing about this is good. It's just to help us understand ourselves, because we have a dualistic nature in our mind, right? It's a dualistic condition that we have. And what we're trying to do is find out that we're not dualistic in nature. We're not separated in nature, that's an illusion. So the more that we become conscious of the circle and the dot simultaneously, the more we will start to, get rid of that divide, that separation within. That's what keeps us expressing divide outwardly, right? Is because we are not knowledgeable of the dual aspects of self. We're not knowledgeable. Most of us are not knowledgeable about the circle. Most of us are not knowledgeable about the dot. But the more we start to, because here's what you have to understand. That dot is fixed, right? Which means it's determined. It's determined. Well, what else is determined? Natural law, right? The law of one. That dot represents the law of one. The circle represents the random component, because this is the infinite decisions of free will. And we can stay in, making decisions. So if we don't have that dot in the middle, it's just randomness. It's just free will. Do whatever you want. Be as ignorant as you want. Who cares? There's no point to life because there's no point in the circle, right? But the moment you put that point in there, that's because you have found the point. You have found the truth, because the point is truth. The point is clarity. The point is focus. The point is purpose. The point is aligning our choices to the point, to what is true, which is the point of life. The point is freedom. We can generate freedom by aligning ourselves with that point. Everything associated with that point, right? Because that point is fixed. That point is correct. That point is true. That point is right. So as we align our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior to that point, which is fixed, which is natural law, that is when we're going to generate freedom. You know, and it doesn't work any other way than that. And that's how, you know, and that's, I'm just explaining, that's how this symbol can help us understand that better.
The principle of rhythm and the principle of vibration.
Right.
It's there, and at the risk of repeating myself, and for the new people, nothing is separate. Everything is connected together, interconnected into the microcosm and the macrocosm, both.
Absolutely.
And this symbolism there, why it's so prevalent and so powerful, because it's representing nature and the universe. Essentially, it's like a really simple symbolism for life and spirit, and it's everywhere. It's a circle, or is it the flower of life? It's made from circles, you know.
Yeah.
Everything is connected together, you know. And the flower of life has have a center. And it's crazy when I was listening to you, and I was having flashes of like a lot of different things, you know, that we can like connect together. It's very fascinating. Awesome.
Yeah. It's, you think about the dot is balance, you know, to find your balance, because this is about equilibrium. This is about having the hemispheres aligned and being able to generate equilibrium, and then because the circle is akin to chaos. Okay. So it's about saying, and it's also about the, moral relativism. The circle is moral relativism, because moral relativism is without a point. So when we look at this circle as moral relativism, it is about understanding that. I saw something pop up here. I didn't get a chance to read it, but the circle being moral relativism means that you're not you're avoiding the point. You're avoiding that which is true. And I forget my point. But
I mean, the comment was about let me see. Even freedom and slavery are connected by the spectrum of free will choice. One must understand the natural law is a standard of providing consequence to choice, assigning effects to causes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, pretty well said.
Very well said. Yeah, it's the circle is it is the choices, and we can align our choices to the point, to what is fixed, to what is true. And so yeah, there was okay, so when you think about this point, think about it in the sense of, a spiral. And I'm going to talk about the spiral a little bit later, but the spiral is about understanding the path to the point, because we can't just go directly beamline to the truth, right? It takes time. It's an unfoldment. That's part of our experience of our individual journey to get to that point. You don't just arrive to the point. You start out in ignorance. You start out in the darkness, right? And so this is about, bridging the hemispheres and being able to, this is the point that I was going to make earlier. The circle represents external government, okay, world government in general. government as far as, what generates slavery, right? The circle is slavery. So as we move out of our darkness, out of slavery into, towards freedom, getting the equilibrium, that is when we can know, KNOW, how to say no to man's authority, to government in general, right? But the point is internal government, right? Because the more that we move towards that point, it's about having the internal government, because internal government is about understanding the esoteric. The esoteric is the point. The exoteric is the outer. It's what, most people understand. And it doesn't have to be that way, but most people choose for it to be that way. But you think about all the outer, think about ego. Ego wants to control the outer, the extant, right? That's why, government becomes, generates slavery, because that's what ego wants to do. Ego wants to generate slavery. If it's not controlled, if there's not an inner control, because think about it. If you're moving in to the point, you're moving in control. But if you're moving away from the point, you're moving out of control, right? So it's about understanding that if we're living in chaos, which chaos actually means void or emptiness, right? That's the etymology of chaos. And that's what we're living in when we're living in the outer circle. We're living in chaos. Or that's what is generated by living in the circle. But at the moment we start to turn our attention inward and move in the direction inward, take the path, the spire path, that is where we're going to move in the right direction.
I just want to answer one of the French people. On est en train de parler du symbolisme du point, du cercle avec le point. Fait que ça a pas, on n'est pas en train de parler de la loi d'attraction. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Here we go. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I respond to the person. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Let me see what's. Okay. Yeah. This is kind of what I already talked about earlier, but this is the representation of the cone with the point raised. So it's important to understand this symbol, both 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional. So 2-dimensional, there's a lot more that you can understand with the 2-dimensional. But to understand the 3D cone, this is about understanding vision, the conal vision, right? And it's about understanding the Most High symbolically, right? And in the 3D world, because obviously, just because the fixed star of Polaris is considered the Most High, it doesn't mean it's actually the Most High. It just means it's a symbol that helps us understand the Most High through this circle dot. And there's so much more that goes into that. But this cone is about raising in consciousness. It really is about raising our light to the most, aligned to the Most High. That's what we're trying to do. That's what because the cone, the dot raised as the cone equals evolution in the human species, because you're raising from the circle, which is ignorance, which is, you're
Base
born in,
consciousness.
base consciousness, you're born
Yeah.
into sin, right? And then you have the ability to raise that point, to find the point, and then raise that point, to raise that light. And
I have a question about the word sin, because I heard that is when they're telling you that you're born under sin, the sin, it means you're born under the serpent. What do you think about that?
well, I would just say that the serpent represents the R complex. So it's about being like in Freemasonry, there is the casket underneath the floor. And so what you're doing is you're trying to raise. So, we start out, I wouldn't say we start out completely under the R complex, but we start out in the R complex, but underneath it, because we don't even understand it. And we have the ability to raise ourselves above the R complex, above the ego, to where, the serpent controlling the mind would be, the reptile gets to sit in the throne, right? But it's about understanding we can raise above that and overthrow the R complex, to overthrow the reptile spiritually, raising our frequency to, sit with our higher order thinking in the throne of the house, because this is the house. This is the temple, right?
I was thinking about the Ouroboros symbolism,
Yeah,
which is a circle in itself.
absolutely.
I was just bringing it. It was like flashing.
Right, because the Ouroboros is about commencement and recommencement. And it's also about how everything is, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it's all tied together. It's held in place. It's fixed, right? It is, because you have to understand that the Ouroboros is the you can look, it is the snake, but it's also the dragon. And what that is it's there to protect you and your freedom, or to protect your rights. It's holding your rights in place. It is there for you to. You have to defeat that dragon to get to the pineal, to the Most High, to the little bear. But also the dragon is, the dragon can be good or bad, but the dragon is there to protect that. And, you have to be strong enough and courageous enough to get past that dragon, to defeat the dragon. But it's not really defeating the dragon. It's more of living above the dragon. And, because it's about living above the R complex. But there's a lot more to it, obviously.
Sure. I mean, it's crazy. We're an hour and 10 minutes. I mean,
Okay.
I would like to. If do you want to go further, or?
Well, I have a couple more slides.
Okay, here we go.
But yeah, this is kind of something I already talked about, but if you're really trying to understand the solar mythos, you cannot pass up astrotheology. You have to study astrotheology. It is key. It is vital. I mean, if you can't, you're never going to understand the circle dot unless you understand this. You're never going to understand the world you live in unless you understand this zodiac. And the zodiac is very difficult to understand because they flipped the zodiac. So it's about understanding the clock too, because it's about time, man-made time. but it is because, and that's how it gets corrupted, and it's flipped upside down and backwards. And so you really got to orient. That's the key about the circle dot, is orientation. You have to orient the mind and really try to put everything in perspective and really see how things work, upside down, inside out, reversed. Because if you don't, then there is a possibility that you're going to really miss something very vital. But this zodiac is key to understanding consciousness. It's key because if you're studying, Horus and Set and Osiris and these solar gods, and they're solar in the solar mythos, but Osiris, it's hard to tell if Osiris. I mean, I would say the archetype of Osiris in his pure form, I would say probably came from the stellar mythos into the solar. But it's about understanding these. We have to understand these archetypes, being Horus, Set, and Osiris, and obviously there's a lot of other gods that we got to understand to really see what this zodiac is really explaining to us, because it's helping us understand how to get out of man's slave system, because the corruption of this zodiac is a control installment into our minds to make us think a certain way and act a certain way, and basically it's about making us slaves to man's time and the clock, and that's a whole nother story. But it's very, very important that we go further back. That's why this circle dot is so important, because it's really getting to the crux of the problem in our world. It's helping us get to understand. This helps us understand the archetype of Jesus, the light of the world, right? Because it helps us understand the points, the point in the middle, the point to all of this, because the way that we track time and the way we track cycles is so vital to how we survive in this world, because it's about it helps us understand when to plant and when to harvest. And if we're ignorant of that, then, we're not going to really understand how the world works. We're not going to, the thing is, we're so reliant on government. We're so reliant on man keeping track of everything for us, and keeping track of our food, keeping track of all these things, and that there's corruption involved in the symbolism, and it becomes very dangerous how it evolves, how the corruption evolves, and we just become more and more enslaved to this type of information or these symbols, because we're not,
because we're out of center.
Yes, exactly. We're not balanced. We've lost the light, right? Because you think about the zodiac without the sun in the middle, without the sun being the crux, without the sun being the focal point. That means we're without light. That means we're in total darkness. We're in moral relativism. We're enslaved, right? But the more we start to bring that light back to the crux, right? Carry the cross, right? To realize that others suffering means that you're suffering. I'm suffering. So as everyone suffers, you suffer, right? So we're all suffering together. And, so bringing the light back, it reduces the suffering in the world. That's the point. That doesn't mean, believe naively that there's going to be a second coming. It's just about understanding that you are the one who has to raise the Christ consciousness within you, the light within you, right? Because there's no one else. There's no one coming to save you. There's no exterior being coming to save you. Only you are coming to save you. And that's what this information is here to help us do, to regain our sovereignty, to regain our light within.
Mm-hmm.
Balance, equilibrium.
And this is an excellent point, because I mean, that's an excellent point. This the ignorance is a burden for everyone else. It's like we're literally keeping us from knowledge, and most of, like you and me and certain people who are in the comments, we're workers. We educate ourselves and then become better to be centered, not self-centered, but centered. And there's always a more darker side to symbolism too. When I see the circle and that, I think about solipsism.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Things like that. So I mean, it's so important to take a few step back and looking on both sides of the coins, and yes, it's very powerful, very empowering, but it can be used as a subversive control mechanism too. I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely, it can. Yeah, I mean, when you think of Satanism, the dot being selfishness. The whole universe revolves around you, right? You could also look at it like, let's see. The thing is, the beauty of this symbol is, there's that light in as the point. But you can turn that around and just make it to where, because it's about inversions. Okay, yes. Symbols can be inverted, right? So right, and what you said about solipsism, this is very, very important to understand, because a lot of people are stuck in this idea, this belief that everything is just their perception. And so starting in basically the whole universe was just built for you and your little exciting little experience,
We're not real for them.
Right. We're not real for them. That's right. So they're living in this little bubble. They're living right in the self-centered, thinking that, and then this is ego. Ego is the self-centeredness. Ego is solipsism.
Yeah, it's ego like
right.
Donna Ray. It's fucking it's like chaotic. There's no control there when you're like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the way I would interpret, or the way that I would like put the head like as the dot, covering the dot, someone's head, the brain covering the dot, covering the light, and just looking outwardly, never looking in, never truly looking in,
Absolutely.
And that's really where most people are at, because, and this is, again, this turns into moral relativism.
Yep.
And it makes people stay, in the aimless. The circle is the aimless. But once you bring that point in the positive aspect, the positive polarity, that's where you're really going to make the better change. Let me see what the next slide is. Okay, I want to read this real quick. So one who possesses occult knowledge of the circle dot will discover many important hidden treasures that have the potential to reconnect much of the ancient wisdom that has been either lost or sequestered, occulted for hundreds of thousands of years, right? And this is something I already kind of touched on, but this is important because the way we're going to really understand these symbols is by studying the occult. And, we're not going to get out of this slavery unless we put our heads in the occult. That's the attention. Think about it. The attention, the circle, it's about bringing the attention to the point, to really make a strong point. You're bringing all the attention to that fixed, focused point of clarity. And that's exactly what having the knowledge of the occult can help us do. Because that's the thing. Most people don't have a concept of the occult. They're missing the point. They're missing the high resolution, right?
I call the people who didn't start sleepwalkers.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Sleepwalkers
sleeping.
Are aimless.
And what it means is that you're gonna walk like in round and never get to the center. You're gonna like go all around and never go to the center, because the occult, what is, at my interpretation, it's self-knowledge, it's self-awareness, it's psychology, it's an internal work. First, it's you're clean your own. I use always this analogy of life in my life. When I'm making stuff in my life, I put them in circles. I have my own life, and then I have my life with my family, and I have my life with my girlfriend, and there's many circles. But the thing is to always to not like get lost between them, and it's making amend to, yes, equilibrium, but consistency too. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's only only one way to do it, and it's that way. It's you're separating your life into circles, and then you're getting and you're cleaning your circle. When you sure some are getting bigger with the time, and maybe you're gonna be a little bit like shaky in them, but essentially it's all about the occult. It's like get in the center, be consistent, and persist with everything you have, because this is the thing. And you told us about time, and it's connecting just right there. It's what are you doing with your time?
Absolutely.
What are you gonna do with your 80 springs or your 80 winter with
Absolutely.
your time? And I mean it's can go on and bring more analogies, because it's covering everything. It's on everything.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Let me so I'll really talk more about this symbol. So this is a combining. This is what I call the spire path, but this is a combining of this sacred spiral and the circle dot. Okay, so the spirituality, to truly be spiritual, is to take part in the spiral. So that's what the spire, because when you break down the word spiritual, it means spire ritual. So spire is spirit or spiral, and then or twists. And then you have ritual, which means to take part in something, right? So you're taking part in the spiral. That's what that truly means in the most simple way. Okay. And there's other interpretations, but that one definitely says it all. because we're all taking part in this the spiral. But some of us have not been initiated into our own journey to find truth. And that's why most people are still going aimlessly through life. But I made this little diagram just to kind of, give a little, or show a little bit more of what I was trying to say earlier.
The yellow brick road.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly it. Take the yellow brick road and you will find it will be the unfolding path to truth, the unfolding path to freedom.
Awesome movie, by the way.
Oh my God. Every time I watch that movie, I see so much more. It's like the more that I awaken to this information, the more that I see every time. And it's so beautiful too, still.
For the people who don't know what we're talking about, is The Wizard of Oz, by the way. Spiritual, metaphorical movie. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, one of the greatest allegories I've ever seen. That would be fun to break that movie down eventually someday. I got a lot of ideas for that movie. But this spire path is so important to understand, because like I said earlier, we don't just have like this straight line path to truth. It's like, because the thing is, the more that we move towards truth, the more we have the potential to unravel more truth. That's why in the second degree of Freemasonry, the spiral staircase, like when you think of a staircase being something that you can, you're walking up, and let's just say that it's all closed off and it's concrete, and you're walking around the spiral staircase. Well, you can't really see what's around the bend, right? But the reason that you're even going up there is because you're aligned. You have you are going after truth. You are correctly aligning yourself to that which is. You are aligning yourself morally and taking this path and having faith to take on whatever comes around that bend, but also to hopefully receive more truth. Because it's about clarity. The more we receive truth, the more clarity we receive, the more we can see, and that is why it's so crucial to understand the spiral staircase and the spiral along with the circle dot, because that really puts it together better, I think. So it's an unfoldment, Well,
I have to get back to Freemasonic symbolism. I need to refresh. Oh my God, there's so much stuff there. They're covering most of this stuff.
Yeah, it's an unfoldment. I mean, that's the thing about Freemasonry. A lot of people don't understand is that it is a science of an unfoldment of natural law. So a lot of people don't understand that natural law. When we learn natural law, which anybody who learns natural law, I'm very thankful, because, at least, good people is what I'm really referring to. But, when people learn this information, they think that, this is all that you have to learn, is, just learn the transgressions and learn the objective difference between right and wrong, and then you're done with it. And that means that you have stifled yourself from going towards truth. Because we have to understand natural law is an unfoldment. It's not just a law that governs our human consequences and teaches us our lessons. Well, helps us learn our lessons or understand our lessons. But it's an unfoldment. And Freemasonry and all the mystery traditions, but especially Freemasonry, it helps us unfold this law to see how important it is, to see how the system is, the system of reality actually works. Because it's this, when I hear people say, when I hear atheists talk about, the universe is just a machine, I've always thought like, okay, that's kind of interesting, because it's almost like it's like just a random machine that has no purpose at all, right? And I always thought like how weird that is to think that way. But then when I really started to study the the aspects of consciousness and really start to see the worldview differences in the mind, I really started to understand that, the world, the way that I understand it, the universe really is mechanized, but it's organic and it has a spirit in it, right? So that's what they're missing, is that spirit energy. And that is, so once we tap into that with the understanding of natural law, we start to see the actual mechanics of nature, which is really beautiful. It's beautiful to wake up to that. It's beautiful to understand that at a certain level. I hope to understand that at a very deep level someday.
I mean, when you, yes, there's the nature component to natural law, the external world, but essentially what is this is the principle of correspondence.
Right.
The natural law are inside of you, and these forces, these laws are in you. You thrive and you grow up and you mature into these laws when you understand them, and they're very empowering, because they're keeping you in your center,
right?
What we said earlier, and stay on your path.
Yeah,
because I mean
it's the middle path.
Essentially yes, because they're showing you the way, but the way you're gonna do it, it's gonna be your own.
That's right.
Because we have our difference, and spirals are everywhere.
Yeah.
Spirals are like universe, the cycles of the planets and things like that, and the vortexes and tornadoes, and it's very imbued in nature. They're because I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but tornadoes are two counter currents that crosses together and create a vortex from it. And I think even in the metaphorical aspect, I think it's two forces, right? like logic and emotions and things like that mix together, and then you create a force. This is a force of nature. I was just like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's something I said on my presentation. It got brought up and it made me think of the hurricane. Obviously a hurricane is very similar to a tornado, only it's a way more enormous and way more, and it's over water. But it's just interesting, because when you think of the eye wall, and it's an eye wall, right in the middle, and the wall, and in the center is peace, right? There's no wind, right? But man, the moment it's like, if you start out on the edge of the hurricane, it's the wind is more broad. It's not as like whippy. It's not as hard, but it's like if you try to pierce that wall from the outside going in, it is so difficult. And I kind of relate that to this journey, because it's hard getting to, you almost have to go with the wind to get to that middle part, right? And to pierce that, the speed of that wind is almost unreal. And that's why I don't think that's why us humans will never reach ultimate truth, right? But it's about aligning to that. It's about going in the direction, because, and I'm not saying, you're going to hit like a giant wall and you can't reach any more truth. But what I'm saying is that, we have to understand that there's only so much we can know as human beings. And, but when we learn these, we can learn all this information, the most important parts of this information. We can do that. I'm not saying we can do that completely in one lifetime, but I'm saying we can do it to the degree that we can actually harmonize with each other very quickly by learning this, at the very least, learning how to go in the direction of what is correct and what is right, aligning to natural law. We know this whole world could change in, a small amount of time if people just took that in and learned that and applied that into their life. But, to go further back, it takes quite a bit of time to see. I mean, the symbol is, this symbol is helping us expedite so much information, because it's a timeless symbol. But it's very hard to get a hold of a lot of that knowledge. And, you got to learn what knowledge resonates and what knowledge doesn't. You really got to sit on these things, sit on these symbols, these archetypes.
Contemplation.
And the more that we contemplate, the more that we're going to really start to see the unfoldment and be more aligned, because we got to think on these things. We can't just look at them and put them away. We really got to take time, lots of attention, lots of time. Really, if you're really serious about being a free, sovereign being, you're going to have to put in the time. So, I mean, that's the beauty of the Spire path.
Wizard of Oz, everyone. Go see go take a look back.
Right.
Crazy.
It's an allegory of this symbol for sure. But yeah, I mean, there's so much more. Let me see real quick. I made like kind of a list, and I didn't even stick to the list. I just went right off the top of my head, and but yeah, oh yeah. So the symbol is also, the circle dot is the round table. Oh, here's something really interesting. So I was talking about Osiris, and most knowledge goes all the way back. Basically people kind of think that Osiris is like the end of where knowledge begins or something like that. But anyway, when you look at the zodiac, let me go back here just to the zodiac real quick. So this is very simple what I'm going to talk about, but basically this zodiac this holds the information of Osiris, right? So the god of rejuvenation, and basically the god of understanding the mythology and the eschatology, understanding the final things. And so, basically raising to light and then dying and going into death, right? So Osiris, the green language of Osiris, is very interesting because look at this symbol. The symbol is the iris, right? So it's the O's iris, the O apostrophe S iris. So it's the O, the all-encompassing of all that is. It's the iris. It is the all-seeing eye of Osiris, because that's what it is. It's about understanding the Most High. But anyway, that's just some green language I wanted to share.
Very good. Green language is fascinating too. Incredible. I mean, even in French, sometimes I'm stopping and I'm taking words and I'm tearing them apart and try to get the sources. And there's interesting results from that in the French language too. It's an all other conversation.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, Fred. So
I mean, we can stop it there, and if you want to come back, I will invite you back if you want to continue this discovery and or bring something else. Uh, uh, you're welcome anytime, anyway.
awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah,
So
man, it'd be a lot of fun to come back on and
yes, I mean,
expand.
there's so much people who don't know this. I mean, I've encountered a lot of French people who wants to learn too, and they can understand English. So I mean, it's an all other uh, 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 group of people to get into, and I mean, even for me, for refreshing the information, and you brought a lot of point that I wasn't aware about, and connection. And I mean, I put some dots together tonight, and it was very good. So I want to thank everyone who's been in the comments. Jean Vincent, Jose was there, a lot, Hélène, Eric. I think Marthe was there. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us and being patient. It was supposed to be at 9, and we had some technical difficulties. So thank you very much for being patient, and to have been to this an hour and 44 minutes of goodies. This is candies for the and food for the mind. And next time we're gonna see this symbolism, we're gonna like think about all this stuff. And I mean, I would be very interested if we can go deeper into this. I know you like went quickly over it, but it would be good. So have a good evening, everyone, and we're gonna see next time. Maybe next time it's gonna be in French. I'm pretty sure. I'm pushing it, having more people. So take care, people. Bye.
Thanks.